This program is brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
And good day and welcome. You're watching the fourth episode of Africa's Next Generation, the groundbreaking series that uncovers the inspiring journeys of Africa's emerging business leaders. My name is Tanya Habimana and I'll be your host for this episode. Now, the 27th of June is SME Day, and our topic for the day is SMEs in the African economy, how small businesses steer growth. Joining me now are Gwendoline Abunau, Cluster Head for CMAC and MD of Cameroon for EcoBank, and Catherine Awor Udoor, Director of Jabali Schools. According to the World Economic Forum, small and medium-sized businesses are the lifeblood of African economies. SMEs are responsible for more than 80% of Africa's employment and 50% of its GDP. The African Continental Free Trade Area, or the AfCFTA for short, a single continent-wide market that unites 54 countries, aims to help scale African businesses through the integration of regional value chains and increasing intra-African trade by 52.3% by 2030. Now, starting off this conversation, I'd like to start with you, Gwendoline. EcoBank recently launched the EcoBank Single Market Trade Hub. Perhaps you can share some of the insights on this new trade hub and how it will support the AfTA's mission.
Thank you for the opportunity. You know, EcoBank's mission is to participate in the economic integration of the economies in which we operate. So creating the Single Hub in March was to create a platform where those who have a product to sell can have a ready marketplace. So we have created this platform to bring importers and exporters in one place, enable them to communicate on their products and services, enable them to have a platform where they can make payments and receive payments, and most importantly, have information about what is happening in the sectors in which they operate. So for us, we are just continuing our mission and our vision, which is to ensure that we participate in the continent's development and growth, and SMEs being at the heart of it, and always being short of access to information, opportunities, and a platform to exchange or trade financing. We created this single market hub so that we can be at the center and bring them together so that they can grow their business and therefore grow the economies in which we operate.
A true demonstration of determination to ensure that we increase trade. And I'd like to get your perspective on this. How is financial intermediation from banks important in the facilitation of business establishments of all sizes?
You know, banks are at the center of everything. Financial institutions have to be there in the center to provide, first of all, information and financing. We do this in different categories, as you rightly said. What a multinational will need is different from what an SME would require. So the banks have a specific and a unique challenge to make sure that we cater our services and products to fit individual needs. So we have to be there to provide financing, but we equally have to be there to give them a niche where they can meet people who need their services and also sell to those who need their services. We need to be able to give them digital tools, because right now it's difficult if you do not have digital platforms to be able to make payments or receive payments. So banks equally have to provide that digital services that small and medium-sized enterprises will need to grow their business. And the fourth thing is that you have to also give them training. And the best way we can do that to reach everyone in the 35 countries in which we operate is to use, again, digital platforms that can offer them basic training on growing the business, sustaining it, and making sure it can grow and take up scale.
Brilliant. And now, Catherine, I want to ask you, how can the private sector policymakers work in partnership with the AfCFTA in order to open expansion and growth opportunities for SMEs when it comes to cross-border trade?
Thank you very much. Yeah, private sectors and policymakers are very key in African Continental Trade Fair area. This is because they have a potential to transform the economies and the continent as a dynamic force in international arena. If policymakers can draft very good policies, this will help businessmen and women to ensure that their business flows without challenges. As we are aware, 60 to 70% of women are involved in business and in the cross-trade area. And therefore, if the laws that are drafted are well drafted and could favor women, women could do their businesses very well. Finally, the private sector, which plays a critical role in the development of Africa, and hence strategy ensures business across the continent have access to tools and partnership. They will be able to play a key area in creating a resilient environment in future.
And Catherine, I'd like to pick up with you on this actually, because as an entrepreneur yourself, how does the Jabali School equip its learners to become business owners and as well as entrepreneurs of the future?
Jabali School is actually an integrated school where we have regular learners and also learners of special needs. Now, in that kind of environment, of course, we have to ensure we instill the right skills to the children. Now, one of the things that we have done at Jabali School is having a unit that actually empowers the children, and that is by bringing in people who can do motivational talks. This we do every Friday. And normally we bring people from different fields, be it doctors, engineers, and also entrepreneurs. So now from a young age, a child will be able to know what kind of career I would like to take if it is entrepreneurship. So with that, by now, most of them already know what they want. Two, we carry out field visits to various business enterprises and allow learners to integrate with business owners on how to establish and manage various ventures. So you find when they visit your business ventures, these learners are able to interact and even ask questions. And even at one point, we took them to EcoBank. So with that also, some of them were able to interact with some of the bankers and also get to know what they want to achieve. Now, through digital platform, learners are encouraged to watch and interact with relevant business-related content. So through these platforms also, we give them the challenge to be able to develop business ideas of what they want to be. And finally, we have activities that we use to make these learners have better growth mindset. And with growth mindset, of course, they are able to know what they want to do in future and also to be resilient. Because for any business, if you are to do any business, you must have resilience and consistency.
Gwendoline, I want to come back to you. I mean, speaking about growth opportunity for SMEs on the African continent, how can digital financing improve efficiencies of intracontinental trade for SMEs particularly?
SMEs normally are restricted because they don't have the means to expand. So what a digital network gives to them, the opportunity it creates is to bring them into a huge market space that otherwise they would not have had. So they are tossed into a market space where they can trade with people in all countries across Africa. So with the single market hub of EcoBank, they have access to 35 markets sitting in their homes or sitting in their offices. So they have increased customers, they have increased information, they have increased opportunities to trade. And coupled with that, they now have digital payment methods where they can receive payments or make payments as well to their suppliers. They also have the possibility to have access to training because we use digital platforms to give them basic training on accounting and bookkeeping, on trade opportunities, on how to get trade finance. And coupled with this, we equally give them trade lines that they can use to grow their businesses.
Yeah, and quite a lot of opportunities there, as you've explained, increased access to opportunities for training, a wider market, a lot more customers, but also I can imagine a lot more competition in one hand. But that's an area where, as EcoBank, you're stepping into this. I'd like to get an understanding of how you aim to assist the AfCFTA's mission to ease the ability for SMEs to tap into cross-continental trade and make the most of all of these opportunities.
Yes, we are really working closely with the AfCFTA because we know that they are creating this single market and we have to be one of the key players to enable it. So the single market hub that we have created since the month of March provides this platform for the different importers and exporters to use. So we are going to be at the center, giving them digital tools to make payments, receive payments, give them access to information, give them ways of, accessing credit lines for the import and exports that they're doing. So with these different actions, we actively participate to make sure that the AfCFTA achieves their mission.
Catherine, perhaps you can talk to us about some of the challenges that you have come across your way, and perhaps your typical everyday challenge as a small business owner and how you are able to surmount them.
Okay, one of the challenges I would say is limited access to cash. Right now, the economy has really gone down, and many lending facilities are offering loans at high interest rates. This has affected quite a number of businesses. The other challenge I would say is limited access to tools of facilitation like technology and computers. The world has changed right now, and you will find that in most cases, people are using technology to do quite a number of things. So we have limited access to technology. Then also there is the issue of poor monitoring and evaluation systems to help track feedback. Feedback is key in every business. When you get criticism, that is what helps you actually to grow. So that is an area that we also need to check, and it's affecting quite a number of SMEs. Then also lack of know-how how to carry out your market analysis and feasibility study. In a very good environment, a good business, actually, you should start by doing a feasibility study so that you identify the gaps. So in most cases, you find lack of know-how of doing that market analysis also affects a lot. Finally, I would also say lack of a good business plan. You find most businesses start and most people have not developed a good business plan so that you know where you're starting from and what you're supposed to do. So if you have a business and you don't have a good business plan, then it means you are not running your business professionally. So these are some of the challenges that SMEs are facing because they don't have the professionals to be able to guide them on how to run their business. And these are some of the challenges that we are facing as a school and an entity. Thank you.
When listening to all of this, how can the assessment of market restrictions and access, as well as national laws, help to best understand how SMEs can navigate through the African market? And how can this assessment enable economic change and growth?
I would say the first thing will be the creation of a favorable loan facilities from the government and private entities and small-scale enterprises. When you're starting a business, I think the key thing here is the financial capability. And you find in most cases, SMEs do not have the capability to run their business because of the finance bit. So if there's a creation of loan facilities that will be favorable, that will really help the private entities to be able to do their business well. Secondly, I would say capacity building on business management and marketing of products. When you hire employees, the key area is to continue doing capacity building to ensure that the staff have the right capacity. And when they are well trained and keep getting they are well trained, they'll be able to do their work well. And finally, the creation of a policy framework that creates an enabling environment. This is where the policymakers come in, and it's very, very key. Most entities are not doing well because of the policies that have been framed up in a country. So if policymakers could do a feasibility study and be able to work with the SMEs and know the shortfalls, I think this will really help in building the SMEs community.
So stay tuned to Africa's Next Generation. We'll take a short commercial break, and after this, we'll be back with more exciting conversations about SMEs. And welcome back to our discussion on SMEs and the African economy, how small businesses steer growth. My guests joining me to unpack the objectives of SME Day today are entrepreneurs who head thriving SMEs on the African continent. I'm joined by Gwendoline Abunau, Cluster Head for CMAC and MD of Cameroon for EcoBank, and Catherine Oduor, Director of Jabali Schools. Gwendoline, coming back to you, you have a long-standing career in the banking sector, particularly heading a few departments at EcoBank. Now, EcoBank recently signed an MOU with PAPS, the Pan-African Payment System, alongside other banks to provide a payment and settlement service to which commercial banks, payment service providers, and fintech organizations across the continent can connect as participants and enable for more trade and facilitate payments across the continent. Now, I'm curious to get an understanding of how do SMEs benefit from this and the single market offered by the AfCFTA?
What we're trying to achieve is to reduce the cost and time for cross-border payments for SMEs, because that is where they will be able to get efficiency and be able to get more profit. So when you have a payment platform, it reduces the turnaround time in initiating those transactions and also the turnaround time in receipt, which is so critical in achieving optimal revenue for SMEs. Another thing is that when you have a payment platform, you have access to information that otherwise you will not have access to. You have access to a larger pool of buyers and sellers that you will not have access to if you had to go through the usual cross-border routes. So with this payment platform, in combination with what EcoBank is offering, which is a single market hub, you have an integrated ecosystem to grow your market as an SME that otherwise you wouldn't have if you were just relying on cross-border transactions as usual. So I think it creates great efficiency for the SMEs. It gives them access to different platforms that are affordable, therefore increasing their revenue and the margins they make from their business. They have information that otherwise they wouldn't have. They will be able to know what are the sources of raw materials. They'll be able to know who needs to buy their product, and they'll equally be able to know the different suppliers. And I think it is so critical to be able to bring all of that together in one single slot for an SME, because it will ensure that he has greater margins and he can grow his business to scale.
Now, Gwendoline, earlier on, you mentioned in your earlier points that the work that EcoBank is doing in terms of increasing access for SMEs and allowing them to trade with the wider continent through the PAPS payment service. But one of the things that keeps recurring when it comes to SMEs and to the viability of SMEs operating in any market, actually, not just the African continent, is the availability of funding, of credit, of financing to enable these SMEs to grow. So how is EcoBank working to make financing more available and more accessible to SMEs on the continent?
Yeah, EcoBank has gone the extra mile to create what we call product programs, because as you know, most SMEs do not have financial statements. They don't have a recorded source of past performance. So we have come up with product programs that fit the different profiles of SME, those who are suppliers, those who are creating little products or services that multinational use, those who supply to governments. So we have product programs that can enable them have access to financing to do their business. Sometimes the financing we offer is just a discount to give them money in advance of payment. Sometimes it's just funds to enable them source their raw materials. Sometimes it's the money that they need to be able to make a transfer. And sometimes it's for letters of credit that they will need to pay their suppliers. And now, in addition, with the platforms that they have, it gives them the ability to do transfers online without having all of the administrative bottlenecks that it comes with. The second thing is that we have a program called Elevate for Women, which is focused on supporting women-owned businesses or businesses that are focused on providing services and products to women, or businesses that are run by women. So with the Elevate program, they have access to financing, but they equally have access to, I would call it premium charge current and savings accounts that enables them to have an account without paying the charges that they normally would pay if they had a normal current account like any other business. So we have been able to provide these different tools, the financing through the product programs, and creating a program specially designed for women known as the Elevate program. And we equally have what we call the SME Club, which is a club for small and medium-sized enterprises where they come together for training. They come together, they come towards us to be able to get financing needs, and they also have the possibility to use our products and services to do trade finance.
Catherine, bringing you back here, my next question is, when dealing with students with special needs, for example, how can the classroom best adapt to their needs and encourage them to strive towards entrepreneurship?
Yes, I mentioned initially that we have an integrated system where students with special needs are learning with other learners. What we have done is that we try to make them very comfortable. There is no segregation, so all the kids actually study together. So this makes them actually to be able to, learn very well and interact with other students. We also have provided personalized attention by assuring that each of the classes are manned by 2 teachers. The special needs students really need a lot of attention. So by having 2 teachers, if one student has not understood a topic, with an extra teacher, they are able to grasp and understand what they've not been taught. And actually, they are doing so well. We have students who have performed so well and have been able to advance in their career. We also have an established resource room where special needs learners are given more specialized, personalized attention, including life skills, career identification, and all the other skills they are taught there. Also, when they are visiting, when they go for field visits, the students with special needs also go for field visits and are able to interact in various enterprises and allow learners to interrogate business owners on how to establish and manage business ventures. The mentorship program, which I had mentioned earlier, has also helped these children a lot. So some of them may be special, but when we started this mentorship program, at an early age, they are able to identify what they want to do. And by us narrowing down on other skills, these kids are able to do so well. We have brought in also a lot of curriculum activities. And in these curriculum activities, be it sports, be it what, when we have identified the talent of a child, we narrow down on that to tap into those skills and develop those skills. So at the end of it, we find out that now the students are able to grow already when they have already identified what they want to do and advance into their career. So those who want to advance in entrepreneurship can be able to do that. Thank you.
And Gwendolyn, I want to come back to you. Earlier on, you talked about 2 exciting initiatives that EcoBank is running, Elevate for Women and the SME Club, which kind of hints at alternative methodologies for being able to provide financing as well as allow SMEs to better contribute to trade on the continent. But when it comes to banking, a conversation that comes a lot is that of managing good governance as a bank versus managing riskier investments and making risk capital available to SMEs. So curious to get your take on how you're managing this as EcoBank.
That's a very pertinent question. Governance is always at the heart of everything we do. That is why we are able to curate programs that ensures that we remain within our governance framework, but at the same time, we can meet the needs of our SME clients. What do we simply do? We ensure that we get them to provide the necessary documentation that fits our governance profile or requirements. We help them to be able to get basic financial analysis of the businesses that they are running. We work also in partnerships with insurance companies that have risk appetite for this type of risk. And we figure out what is our target market in terms of where do we want to finance, what businesses we think fit this profile, and how we can support them through. So we ensure that our risk appetite meets the needs also of the SME clients, because at the end of the day, SMEs, like you rightly said, are 80% of the economies in which we operate. So if we do not curate product programs to be able to finance them, then we are not going to participate in the economic development of these economies. So we make sure that we find the right fit, what works for us, at the same time, what works for the SME population.
Thank you so much for that answer. And this is how we wrap up Africa's Next Generation, the 4th episode, where we were talking about SMEs and how they have the potential to really steer growth on the African continent. It's been a pleasure having you as an audience, and it's been an absolute pleasure gaining the insights from our excellent panelists. Now, thank you to all of you for watching. Do join us for the next episode in this series, which will happen in July. Thank you to everyone, and see you next time.